Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rebirth of You podcast. My name is Duane, and I am a life coach for midlife men who are tired of leading lives of quiet desperation, lives full of false pleasures and empty calories, men who want to create lives full of the marriages, the money, and the meaning that they truly desire, and they want to do it without apology. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to be with you guys. And, the first thing that I want to talk about today, and really it's a question. The question is, who are you choosing to become? I think it's a question that is rarely asked of men. Honestly, I think that women probably are more closely aligned to being in spaces where they might hear this question posed to them. But often, this is not something that men typically talk about amongst themselves or with each other. And that's unfortunate because it's such a powerful question when you really choose to sit in it and really challenge yourself and challenge your brain and ask yourself that question. Who are you choosing to become? If you don't know the answer to that, then you're probably living a life that's on autopilot. When we were kids, and I remember when I was a kid, the scope and span of my imagination was limitless. I mean, I could put myself in almost any circumstance or context as a child without reservation. It didn't matter who was around me. I could imagine myself being anywhere. I could imagine myself being anyone. Being in that space is so natural for us as humans when we are children. And the truth is that we have that capability. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's still in us. It's just that the throes of life and the throes of growth and the programming and expectations and desires of our parents and our communities and our schools and our society just start to just chip away at that skill. And any skill left unused starts to diminish, right? So your imagination is no different. When we start getting into, adulthood and we start to, formulate, what we want our lives to look like. It's so interesting because as we're growing up, we get asked this question all the time. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? And it's so natural to have a response and go to our brain and come up with a response. We put thought around it, right? I want to be I want to be an athlete. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football player. I want to be, a businessman. I want to, be a vice president of a corporation. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. And it's so interesting that we go through this part of our life where this question is posed to us over and over constantly. And then all of a sudden, it's like we get into our mid to late 20s and the question starts to get asked a little bit less because the expectation is that you would have already decided. And then we get into our 30s and the expectation is that, well, doesn't matter what you want to do, wherever you're at, it's probably where you're going to be. And then we just stop there. We stop there. We don't challenge any of the thoughts that led us to that place in our life. And we just start going through the motions. And I see this in so many men because I was one of those men where you get to this place where you're married, you raise a family, your children are grown, they're beginning to start their own lives, they have their own friends, and all of a sudden you start to question, okay, well, what am I here to do? Like, is this it? Is this all? Isn't there more? and you start to tell yourself these stories like, well, it's too late for me to do anything different. It's too, I've already, all my good years are behind me. And I want to tell you that this is a lie. Like, this is just not even true. It's just a thought that our brains throw up. And unfortunately, that thought is very much reinforced by our society and the people around us. It's just assumed that once you get past a certain age that you don't really have that much time left. You shouldn't be taking any chances. And I see this is the struggle that so many of us go through, and we actually have a name for it, right? It's called a midlife crisis. And it's something that it's to be expected almost. And the sad part is that it's actually just something that we just, we're just expected to just kind of like go through and deal with and just, accept. Like you just go through it. But, I love the way Brene Brown talks about this, right? She talks about, instead of calling it a midlife crisis, she calls it a midlife unraveling. And she sees it as, it's not a bad thing. And I agree. It's not a bad thing. It is you, the real you, the true you, the purest version of you coming to the forefront and challenging you and saying, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't afford to waste any more time living a life that is not truly your own. You can't afford to waste any more time living for someone else's idea of success, for someone else's idea of what you should be doing, for someone else's rules, for someone else's programming, for someone else's beliefs. You just can't afford to do that anymore. And that unraveling is actually a reckoning. It's a reckoning, and it's the purest version of you coming through and saying, wake up. Now is the time. You are fully responsible for the results in your life. And I'm here to tell you that no matter what anyone's telling you, no matter what any book has told you, or what, your parents have told you, or what society is telling you, you are 100% responsible for the results in your life, right? We all have the life that we insist on having. If you want a different life, you need to insist on it. So many of us, unfortunately, are digging our heels in and insisting on a life that we don't even want. And it's all because we're afraid. It's like we're afraid to step out. We're afraid to actually not just ask the question of ourselves who we want to become, but we're afraid of the answer. Like, what's the answer that's going to come back? Oh my gosh, what if the answer that comes back is so radically different from the life that I have right now? Then what? I don't know. Maybe let's figure out what that means. Let's figure out, what that would look like. How about you actually step into that and see what it would feel like to actually live the life you truly want? It's amazing how we can be afraid to just think and imagine anymore. Like, you can imagine a life that's different than the one you have without actually doing anything about it. You can just imagine it. You can just think about it and actually try it on and see how it feels. What would that look like? What would that feel like? Maybe you won't do anything, but at least give yourself the honor and the privilege of just thinking about it and thinking about, okay, what do I want? Like, not what I think I'm supposed to do or who I'm supposed to be. Who do I choose to be? And then there's so much power in just allowing yourself to do that. Because here's the truth. You get to decide. If you're telling yourself that you're stuck in this life, or, you've had to do this, and, you're just a victim of circumstance, and there's all these things happen in my life, so this forced me to do this. I'm here to tell you right now, that is a lie. You are choosing this life, and you can choose to live a different life. And I'm not even saying you've got to hate your life in order to do that. All I'm saying is that if you want to live differently, if you are not satisfied with the life you're living, if you're not satisfied with the stance you're taking in your life, who you are choosing to be today, you can choose to be something different. And you can do that starting right now. You get to decide. You don't need to ask anyone's permission. I see so many people, and I was there waiting for something to happen outside of themselves, waiting for someone to bestow upon them, this crown of riches, or this promotion, or waiting to hit the lottery, and just sitting back and waiting for some external thing or some external entity or being to create the life that you actually want for yourself. You know who you need to ask? You need to ask you. You need to ask yourself for the life that you want. You decide. And let me tell you, when you get that, when you get in your being that you are the one that is 100% responsible for your thoughts, 100% responsible for your feelings, 100% responsible for your actions, then you will see that the results in your life are 100% yours. And some people will see that and feel negative or bad about hearing that. But here's the beauty in that, is that once you get that and once you embrace that truth, then you will see that you get to decide and you get to create whatever you want in this life now. So if you're tired of living a life filled with false pleasures, if you're tired of living a life filled with empty calories, tired of living a life that you want to escape from, keep listening to this podcast. Keep coming back, because in this podcast, I'm going to talk to you about what it means and what it looks like to create a life of meaning, what it looks like to create a life where you are living out your fullest possibilities. We're going to talk about what it's going to take in order for you to do that. And I'm going to talk to you about how you can actually make it happen in your life. So keep listening. I hope you enjoyed today. I'm really grateful that you have taken the time to spend listening to me. If you're like me, you can be anywhere, because I listen to podcasts anywhere, whether I'm walking, running, in the shower, on the way to work. It doesn't matter. So I just really appreciate you guys listening to me, If you want to learn even more and understand, how to become one of my clients, you can reach me at DuaneLeckey.com. That is DuaneLeckey.com. You can schedule a free consult session with me where we'll actually do some coaching, and we can talk about how you can work with me and be one of my clients. So thank you very much, and talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.